Hi everyone, welcome to July's edition of ADEX Pixel Expo. I'm Sophia from ADEX and I'm here today to be your host and also co-moderator with Carter, who I'll be introducing later. So I'm very glad to announce that we'll be joined by three of our esteemed photographers and judges for the upcoming Asia Geographics Image of Asia Photo Video Competition 2022, and it's actually an ongoing competition. The live judging will actually happen during our ADEX Ocean Vision Expo, which will happen on the 16th to 18th September 2022, happening in Singapore. So without further ado, let me just introduce to you our judges of today, who will be sharing more about their expertise in a while. So first up, we have Jose Julian from France. He's a professional photographer from France, and he started his photography journey in documentary photography. His work has been featured in international publications, and his project Henyo on the Women Divers of Jeju Island was showcased in rock band U2's 2019 concert in Seoul. He's also the founder of his own photography and videography studio, Coco Creative Studio, where alongside his team, he tackles a variety of commercial projects for clients in multiple industries. Next up, we have Eric Goh. So Eric started his underwater photography career 2 decades ago. His underwater images has since graced international magazines and newspapers. His work has been commissioned by major tourism campaigns and has been featured prominently in city walkways and national billboards. He's frequently also a judge in international photography competitions. And last but not least, we have Dr. Klaus Duffield. So Dr. Klaus is a biologist at the Silliman University Institute in Philippines for environmental and marine science. He's also an underwater photographer and videographer, popular science writer, and technical diving instructor. His latest books, The Life of Gobbies, is actually out now with Asian Geographic. So you can also see Dr. Klaus underwater photographies and photos and videos on social media, where he's active as Pacific Klaus. So joining me as co-moderator is also Carter. So Carter is also a photographer himself, and he'll be co-moderating this session with us. So without further ado, Carter, you want to start off with our session for now?
Yeah, thank you, Sophia, for the introduction, and thank you for all the speakers here, Eric, Klaus, and Jose, to spend and taking time out to share more about this underwater photography session. No, sorry, this Images of Asia photography session. Sophia, do you mind if you repeat the title of the I didn't quite get you just now. My bad.
Yes, so today our judges here will be sharing with us some tips and tricks about how people who are interested in participating in Asian Geographic's Images of Asia can better catch their hearts and win the competition for Images of Asia. Yeah, so our judges here will be sharing with you guys some photography tips and tricks, what they're looking out for, certain, are there any guidelines that they might keep a lookout when they're critiquing your photos? Yeah.
Sure, thanks Sophia for sharing that again. So basically, the whole idea of this session, together with the speakers and photographers itself, is we all know that Images of Asia is coming on board, and the submission closes on the 1st of September. So we are actually getting the interested photographers to send in their works from categories such as street and people, landscape, wildlife, black and white, okay, the youth photography, photography on youth, food, and also journalism, ocean, mobile, and short films. So therefore, I believe the judges today are here to help and share more about how to initially get your photo being chosen from the masses, because I believe in all photo competition, there are primary elimination of round 1, the best 200 photos, and at round 2, the best 50 photos, and then round 3, the best 10 photos that will be submitted for live judging with all our live judges. Okay, so photographers, Eric, Klaus, and Jose, is there any tips and tricks to share more about how your initial photo that you submit for competition is not being thrown out of that masses of photos? You know, like if imagine today Sophia is going to submit, Carter is going to submit, Eric's going to submit, Jose is going to submit, Klaus is going to submit, and A to Z whole of Singapore of people is going to submit. You get 10,000, not 10,000, about 1,000 photos. So of all the 1,000 photos, 20% is going to get selected. That's 200. That's the first round. So how do you even get into that first 200 photos for your photos to be submitted? Tips, please. Who would like to go first? Klaus.
So to me, there are two. Can you hear me well?
Yes, good.
Excellent. There are roosters crowing in the background. That's because I'm in the Philippines. Now, I'm looking for two things. Any photograph needs to be technically sound. So if exposure, the proper depth of field for that type of photograph, if the things we're focusing on are, not blurry, just technical proficiency is one thing. And without that, there's just no, progressing. And number two, to me, don't be cliche. So in underwater photography, there's this photograph of, there would be a turtle and there's a sunburst behind the turtle. And this has probably been photographed 10,000 times, 100,000 times, right? It looks nice, but it's nothing new. So any photograph which is too cliche, where I'm thinking, well, this has been done, I would probably not be too excited about it.
That's good pointer. How about Eric? You have any pointers for that 200 primary round to choose photos from? What will catch your eyes?
Well, I agree with Klaus. Those are most of the things that we look for. My personal advice to the participants is that, there are a lot of images in social media right now and in a website. So my advice is go through all of them. Look at past competition winners. Let's say if you are going to Darwin, look at all the underwater photos that you can find on Darwin. Look through them, pick up a few nice ones, and tell yourself, I want to do something different. I want to take a photo, but I do not want my photo to look like that. I want it to be an original composition. And I think that's very important to me, to be original in your photo. Like what Klaus said, I don't want to see a turtle photo with a sunburst in the background. It's just too common. I want to see something new, something original, something out of the box. And to me, second thing is the first impression counts. Okay, I want to look at a photo and I want to go, wow, something that can capture me, within the first few seconds. And of course, what's important as well are the technical competency. You need to be very good technically. It shouldn't be out of focus. The composition should be very sound. The lighting, everything should be good. Okay, but that does not guarantee that you will win the competition. Okay, that is just the beginning of a good photo. A good photo to me needs a lot of, I would say, story. Maybe for street photography, I'm looking for expression as well. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So before we hop to Jose, we have street. We have categories such as street people, landscape, wildlife, black and white, youth, food, photo. The new categories are photojournalism, ocean, mobile, and short films. So I believe each judges has their own forte and their own expertise into what catches their eyes. So Jose, to you, please. What's a good pointer for the people who is going to submit their photo to catch the first 20% of the primary round before even the final round?
I would say Eric and Klaus, I'm very agree with this about in terms of composition, and the pictures cannot be too cliche. If it's overdone, definitely when you are a judge, you see the same type of pictures, so you don't want to select it. For me, one of the main point would be the way it's also edited, because a lot of time, when we see pictures in the competitions, they are over-edited. It could be it could be the exposure a bit too push, shadows, many times the overexposed on the shadow side, and also the color are maybe also too bright. So me, I would prefer to go with something a little bit more natural look, because it's exactly what we're supposed to see if you are in the same location, seeing the same scene. And one big point for me will be also the composition, because I think if you submit your pictures, it needs to be almost one of your best pictures, or your kind of the perfect picture you have in your portfolio. And after, if we talk more about the people side, it will be more about if the subject is very interesting, it could be the location, it could be also the type of activities people are doing. So it's also a little bit like into like the storytelling. So it will be under like portrait, it will be under like photojournalism or street photography. And after, if we go to the black and white, usually you need to have like a nice contrast between your main subject and maybe your foreground or background. And so to make sure like you can direct the eyes of the viewer to where you want people to see the information in your pictures. Yeah. And because this contest is based on one image, so the image needs to be very strong. Imagine if you do a contest with a photography series, this is different things. You maybe need to catch different kind of elements to tell the story.
Good sharing, Jose. Good sharing. Sophia, how about you? I think your era, you started off more on mobile photography. So do you take a lot of photos? Any question for the panelists?
I was actually wondering, like, since there's a lot compared to, let's say, underwater photography that requires more high-end equipment, to withstand the different climate. But for street photography, landscape photography on land, right, it can be a lot more accessible to everybody. So anybody can take photos with their phones, with their cameras, with their DSLR, with their compact cameras, with their film cameras. So is there any specific, I would say devices that you guys would suggest for the photographers to, pick up their photos and submit for this time round? Do you look out for very clear images that can be taken by only the DSLR, or do you think mobile phones are a good device for photos capturing also?
If you want, I can answer. I think, for example, imagine if you focus on people and you do a close-up. I mean, the quality of your lens will play a big part of your pictures too, because you can have like a nice blur behind the subject. So you can definitely focus more on the portrait, on the eyes of the person himself. If you, for example, you take something maybe like a street activity and everything, you don't need to have like incredible lens, incredible camera, because it will be more about the composition and the life you want to bring in the pictures. This is for this point. After, maybe one more thing we can also emphasize is like, imagine if the pictures is two stage, or if you feel two stage. Also, for example, for judging the pictures, after, I think we are all maybe different criteria. But me, we don't like it so much. So if it looks a little bit too fake the way it's composed, or if it looks staged, I think also it will I will put down my ranking for the image.
I have a question to all, because you guys have been out and taking photos for many years. Can you tell from just by looking at a photo whether it's staged or not staged? Is it because sometimes I will question myself. I mean, I've looked through many photos. Sometimes I can't confirm. So a stage photo, some is obvious, some is not. So
so underwater, very often you can tell, and you can tell when you know the behavior of the animals you're looking at. So for instance, you'd have a nudibranch, right, a sea slug, and they're almost exclusively bottom living. Like there are few species which are free swimming, the famous Spanish dancer.
Yes, Spanish dancer.
Yeah, mostly they're like crawling through the rubber or the sand or on top of soft corals. Now, if all of a sudden there's a nudibranch that's swimming, like as an extreme example, that's coming down the water column, it's staged. So in this kind of nature photography, any experienced photographer will understand the behavior of the animals they're looking at, and then they will go, well, that's not what this animal does. So I think it's probably harder with people, because people do all kinds of crazy things, right? But a lot of animals are very restricted in their niches.
Right. So basically, I think this question applies more to wildlife photography, where we cannot manipulate more or less what their behavior is. But say, for example, for street and for people, we usually be able to stage them, isn't it? So does it make a good photo if it's staged well, although it's staged?
I mean, if his stage is not anymore exactly a fine street photography, it will be more like a fashion shoot or a lifestyle photo shoot.
Ah,
Yeah.
that makes sense, Jose. Makes sense. Thanks. How about Eric? What's your pick? What's your take?
Just Jose, what he mentioned. Well, if you can stage it like lifestyle and all these things, I don't see it being anything wrong, with a nice thing, let's say marina. Most of those photos are staged. I don't see anything wrong, but if you talk about like a lot of wildlife photography are actually staged right now. It's like putting the fisherman at the right spot and throwing the nets. There are a lot of photos going around like that. So I personally don't quite encourage those type of photography. That's because then again, it's cliche because it's duplicated too many times, in social media. So if you want to do something, you want to stage something, probably not with wildlife, with human, it's quite norm nowadays, but stage it well and be original.
So basically, don't try not to copy other people's work and then replicate it in a sense, I guess. What the judges or the panelists is trying to share, so that your photo have higher chances of being picked up and it's not being repeated, because all of us has been looking at photos day in, day out. We have seen it. We have seen a lot of composition before. So try to find your unique and wow shot that is able to wow the audience, not only audience, especially the judges, by that few seconds, like what Eric has mentioned. That few seconds is more than it takes to be able to swipe your photo out or swipe your photo in to the 200. I believe that's what they are trying to say. So next, okay, so basically, because we have so many categories, we have all the streets all the way to mobile. Okay, will there, because some of the photos taken, you know how advanced technology now is, so some of the photos being taken on a mobile can pass on a basic DSLR with a basic lens. So
even sometimes pictures taken with a phone can be better than DSLR, because the dynamic range is very very good.
Exactly. So okay, because sometimes we have mobile category, and then we have we do not have DSLR category, but we have mobile category, and then we have the other categories such as wildlife. But you can also take that wildlife photo using a mobile camera. I'm not talking about DSLR or mirrorless, but mobile camera per se. And some of the participants will submit not in a mobile category, but say for example, they use a phone to capture a chicken, for example, a street chicken, and the composition is right. They will submit into wildlife. So the question is, will that be a point lesser than people using DSLR to frame the chicken? It might not be the same photographer. It might be the same, different equipment, but the subject matter is the same, like chicken, street chicken, but different composure, different framing. But then one is taken by a mobile phone and one is being taken by a DSLR. Will the judges in generally say that, a mobile might not have more points than DSLR? Will that happen? Or you will give it equal weightage as long as the composition, everything technical is good? You understand my question?
Yeah. I think a good photograph is a good photograph. It doesn't matter what you shoot with, a film camera, big camera, expensive camera, cheap camera, mobile. A good photograph is simply a good photograph.
Right. So if I were to say, for example, me and Sophia is going to given a challenge to, you know, how there's many chickens running around Singapore now. So our challenge is being given by Sophia and Carter. You know what? You two go and take a wild chicken running on the street. So Sophia is going to use a SLR, a DSLR. I'm going to use a mobile. It doesn't make any difference as long as the photo is good enough to wow people.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. I mean, it's really like the camera is a tool, and you really have to say like I mean, it's I remember these first mobile phone cameras, which were ridiculous, right? You could like barely recognize what you were seeing, and then now you know you have like in this latest models. I mean, it's fantastic, and both the actual cameras as well as the processing software for that. And you know, like the choice of depth of fields, like it's you know, it recognizes what you're looking at, that this is a portrait shot. So like it's I think the times when a mobile phone is an inferior camera, I think this times are over. I think there are very few things when you have like extreme macro photography, you probably need an expensive lens. And when you do something like astrophotography or wide angle underwater, you know, you would need a nice fisheye lens, and a mobile phone wouldn't be able to do that. But I think if you pick your battles with a phone, it's amazing what you can do. So I think it's not an inferior tool anymore.
Right. Good sharing. I think we move on to our next topic and question. So yeah, okay. Now I believe the audience have some understanding on how to get to the selection of the first primary 200 photos out of the thousands masses, or 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 masses. So from 200 photos to the final 20 or 10, what will the judges, or what are the judges looking out for? I mean, I believe, okay, the first stage is that few seconds. It really matters because 10,000 photos times 3 seconds is a lot of days. It's like, wow. Okay, so now 200 to down to 10% of 220 photos. What are the important pointers that you would like to share with our photographers submitting the photo? What do they need to look out for? Any?
I mean, for example, imagine if it could be like for any kind of photography, it could be underwater, wildlife, street, portrait. It could be also how do you separate different elements in your pictures. So, for example, imagine if your main subject, you don't get just like a very cliche picture, but if you imagine you have a flag or a stand behind the head or stuff touching element. So this is very distracting when you read the pictures. So try to separate every element and make sure as where you want to focus, it really pop up from the rest of the image.
So what there's this one, I really do not want to encourage, you know, like trophy hunting in terms of the wildlife you get. But I mean, it does make a difference whether you take a good photograph of a sparrow, or if you take a good photograph of like a Bali starling, right? Of like a really rare bird, or, you know, Philippine eagles. So at this, when you're talking about a large photo competition where there's a lot of wildlife photography, yes, you can take good pictures of common animals. But it's, you know, it just takes my breath away more if I see an animal which is, you know, really rare at this point, or which is very difficult to photograph in its natural environment. So yeah, I think this is a factor. What kind of wildlife have you photographed?
Good sharing. How about Eric? Any pointers to share from the 200 to 20?
Yeah, I want a photo that can stand out among so many photos on the compositions. If it's a bird, doesn't matter what species, the compositions got to be very original, very unique, and it's for street photography as well, and for underwater. Again, I agree with the judges here that the species are not important You know, it's how the story is told. So it could be a very unique specimens of nudibranch, you know, or a very simple nudibranch, but the composition itself matters to me. Not.
I hear you. I hear you. So, will okay. How about I put it that way? Will the judges allow manipulation to the subject? If so, then how much manipulation is acceptable? Okay, how about elaborate?
So you're talking about manipulating the animal, or you're talking about manipulating like in post-processing?
Oh, no. Before you even get into Photoshop. So because sometimes so basically just imagine I'm the chicken, and then Sophia is trying to get the chicken attention. So she will like wave, and then she'll make some chicken noise, trying to get the chicken head looking at certain direction because you want to compose that chicken looking at 45 degrees, and maybe not only 45 degrees, but 10 degrees upwards to the sky, because that sun rays actually shining at the chicken itself. You get what I mean? So by looking at 45 degrees, not much more amazing or better composition than if there's a sun, we identify there's a sun ray, there's a cloud, and then that sun ray, and then if the chicken is going to look 45 degrees, the body is facing here, and then it's look up to the sun ray. So that is manipulation, I guess. Am I correct to say that? So yeah.
Can I talk about this? Well, first, I think you talk a lot about chicken now, because I think, you know, like in Singapore, it's more difficult to get chicken now, I think. I think the price is going up also. But
yes.
I mean, for these kind of things, even though, like, imagine the stage, like what you are saying about manipulation, sure, we don't exactly know, because there's no description about the pictures, there is no behind the scene and everything. So sure, we can just judge about what we are seeing on one image. So whatever they do, I mean, imagine even they won't take picture of their dog. If they take 200 pictures and they submit one, we don't know how many pictures they took before. Yeah. So for us, it doesn't matter so much, because actually we are just looking at one. Yeah.
Because sometimes I've seen photos, I mean, online, when I randomly browse it's just my guess. I'm just guessing that I've seen some housefly so perfect, but I believe they are frozen. So so that kind of question, you see. So unless, I mean, but then it comes back to the argument saying that, oh, the housefly is already dead because it fly itself to the freezing point, and so I just collect the housefly and bring it home to capture that good composition. So therefore, I'm not actually manipulating. I'm just reorganizing or reuse the subject to the best ability to win that photo. You get what I mean? So yeah. So the question is, how much will then the judges be will take into consideration that, you know, yes, this is a nice photo, but you know what? You froze the housefly. You get what I mean? So even it's nice, it's not a winning photo. Yes, it is a winning photo, but it is not a winning photo. You get what I mean? I'm judges or panelists. I mean, Eric, I think you have something to share.
So 2 months ago, I found a stargazer, which is it's a pretty rare, very interesting fish. And then they don't move much normally. So I took a couple of pictures, and then I realized it's dead, which is very rare to find a large dead fish. So I didn't post any of these pictures. I felt really bad for the fish. And I think it's a party foul in nature photography. If you are manipulating, if you're photographing dead animals, it's really, and I mean, if you state it, that's one thing. If you don't state that housefly was frozen, I think it'd be mildly unethical. And I teach open water, just regular scuba diving, and I always encourage students to not touch anything, be respectful to wildlife. And I think actually your pictures get better, because if you don't harass the wildlife, you might see fish like attempting to mate or feeding. So I think we're guests, right, in nature, and I think manipulation is a big no-no for me.
I hear you. Okay, but will you accept a little bit manipulation? I mean, great question, but it depends, I guess. Sophia, any thoughts about it that you would like to elaborate on the question for the panelists?
Actually, I think hinging on the idea of manipulation, and just now I think Dr. Frost mentioned the idea of post-processing. So maybe you can think about maybe you can share with the audience also, like what about the editing aspect and manipulation aspect in terms of Photoshop, Lightroom, etc. So how much of manipulation for the post-production do you think is acceptable? Is it real obvious if something is over-edited to you guys?
I think Jose was elaborating on that already. I think he made very good points.
So Dr. Klaus and Eric, all of you agree with the same standards for post-production editing also?
Less is more, right?
After there is also, imagine after I will talk from my side, but imagine if the picture, I don't like the composition because there is too many people or it's a bit too messy and everything. Sometimes even if I see the scene is already like this, I'm not losing my time to take pictures if I see it's not, I cannot do something good or all of it. But if, for example, imagine I know some people, they will take the picture and after in Photoshop, they will clean, like remove some of the plastic bag, remove some people, everything. After, I'm nobody to say it is good or it is wrong. They do whatever they want, but definitely me is not the kind of photography I will push people to do. I will prefer to ask them continue to shoot, spend more time and try your luck to get something better. But that is up to everyone. When we judge the pictures for us, we don't have the layer, but to know how much Photoshop everyone have done in the pictures. Yeah.
I remember I was diving in one particular resort and I took some shots underwater wide angle. And the owner came up to me and said, Eric, can you don't post this photo because the water is kind of green, Well, I said, the water happens to be green when I shot the photo. The question is, should I change it to the blue? I told the resort owner, I said, no. I said, I won't change it to the blue. Why can't you accept that it's just a big green when I was diving there? And that's what I saw. It's green color. And maybe I came at the wrong time. But if I come back at the right time and the water is blue, then it'll be blue. So a lot of photographers will face a situation like that. For example, you see a very nice shark swimming in front of you and there's 3-4 divers behind. So the question remains, should you just get rid of the divers? You can just Photoshop them out. Well, I would personally say that, why don't you just try again, Or if the diver is behind, then let it be. You can, of course, obviously clean some backscatter, do some cropping. I'm not saying you cannot edit the photo at all, but just try to keep it minimal.
Good way of putting it. Jose, your take, any advice for those who are submitting their winning photos?
But for example, for us, I think the main things in terms of editing, just try to be natural and to make the picture look like how it was. Yeah. So if it's overdone, it will definitely be obvious, and especially if you go to the look like the HDR look. For me, this is it's a no. Usually, for me, it's my way to select. Maybe another judge will like maybe something more saturated, a little bit more overdone. But after, everyone have his own style too, so it's very hard to say what is right, what is wrong. Yeah.
Just 1 second. Just one second. I'll let my colleague to leave. Yeah. Okay. So I hear you, Jose. The next thing is anyone want to add on to the editing portion before we jump on to the next subject? No. Okay. My next question will be then, is it important to have submit the settings together with the photo, or is it okay not to? Okay, what I mean is the exposure length, the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO, and the camera and lens that you're using, so that the person who is choosing a photo can, based on the setting, as kind of understand more so that your photo can be chosen. So is it important? Is it important to submit together with your setting when you're submitting your winning photo? Panelists, any preference to that, or any advice?
I like it. I like it because it's a teaching moment. So you're essentially saying, you know, this is how I did it, and I'm explaining to you what I'm doing, as opposed to I'm going to hide the details of how I took that picture. And also, sometimes, you know, for instance, let's say you're using a 300 millimeter lens and you have a very good picture of a small bird. That tells me that you were very stealthy.
Far away.
Well, no, with the 300 millimeter, and it's a tiny hummingbird, right? And you're close, right? It's a full frame picture. So I know, well, you were actually quite close, you know, good for you. Good job. So I think it's a good practice to submit the settings.
Right. How about Jose and Eric? What do you think?
I mean, you want to go first? Go ahead.
Well, I think it's good for the other people who are following the competitions for beginners especially, to learn, you know, how those winning shots were taken, the settings. Yeah, educational, that's what the doctors say.
Jose?
For me, it's the same, but for example, to have the information for me to give a ranking or to judge the pictures, it don't change my judgment because I see the settings. Actually, I don't care so much to see it because I would definitely judge what I see. But for example, if the settings are there and people from the contest can see or are interested to see how was taken the pictures, to understand maybe the shutter speed, the type of lens and cameras they're using, I find it's interesting for everyone. But for me, it will not affect my ranking or judgment for the pictures.
Got it. So it's good for the audience or the photographers who wants to submit to know. Okay. Sophia, any questions on top of that? Don't know. Okay. So I have one more, the probably the last. Okay. For the final photos where we are shortlisted down to 20, what are the critical points that judges are actually looking? Other than, okay, now we have the composition. I believe those that make it to the final round of the best 20 or 30 photos to be placed first, second, and third, what are the most critical or critiques that you will use to be choosing that winning photo? So basically, okay, say we don't want to be very broad. So basically, maybe we talk about wildlife, since all this has been about. I believe those that has made to the final rounds has good composition, good exposure. I mean, whatever needs to be exposed is properly exposed. Whatever that is not supposed to expose is not underexposed. So we have good dynamic range without exploding the both side of that graphs. So now, what makes that winning photo? I mean, what kind of really nitty-gritty things that you're looking out for? That's my question. Some advice.
For me, maybe I can just start. I think for me, like I believe like the 20 finalist pictures for each category, I believe they will be all like quite good in terms of composition, about the editing, about the subject. They will be all like already good pictures. I think the winner pictures will be the one where it touched maybe each of the judge personally, like, and everyone say, oh wow, it's a very, very beautiful pictures. It's very unusual, or they will like some of the detail, or they will like the story behind. So it will really depend about which pictures will touch the most the judge, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. At that point, you know, if you're starting with a few thousand and then you're 20, these are going to be very good pictures. And then, I mean, there will be an element of subjectivity. It's unavoidable.
How about Eric?
Well, I just need to wait till I see those photos. You know, it could surprise me. I don't know.
So I guess what Eric is
really
trying to say,
tell till I look at those photos.
Yeah. So I guess what Eric's trying to tell the audience or those people who are submitting their photos, element of surprise, like what Jose, Klaus, and Eric have shared in the beginning of this webinar, something that is a cliche not replicated. Okay, I believe that. So the element of surprise should be there always. And we come to our last question. Is there any pointers that you would like our audience or our people who is submitting their photos to take away from before we end the session? We might want to start off with somebody who wants to volunteer to start off. Is there any good tips? Just one for them to.
You know, I told you. I told you to not be cliche, and then I'm gonna say something cliche, which is just enjoy the journey, right? Like you can't go diving and say, well, today I'm going to take a picture to win a photo competition, a big one. You know, enjoy the dive, enjoy hanging out with your friends, take some good pictures. Maybe something is going to come up which will win your competition. Like don't get all uptight about it.
Good. I think that's good pointer. How about Jose?
It's quite similar. I mean, like if you want to participate to a contest and you like photography, you just have to enjoy what you are doing. And also, if you want to improve yourself as a photographer, I think you also have to accept critics and critique your own work, and to look a lot into like inspiration and other people's work. For example, imagine you do portrait, look how people do the lighting or natural lighting on portrait on the street, how they are doing it. If you like street photography, go through all photography books on past photographer and look how they compose their shot and everything, because even though maybe it's very hard to replicate or do the same thing, but by seeing that what does it work and what doesn't work, it will teach you. And it's a little bit like people are doing movies or videos. Actually, all the type of shot, like close-up, mid-shot, wide, is always the same thing about how you will compose. So you can try to replicate some of the stuff, and you will learn by doing this. Yeah. So that don't mean it will be good pictures. I don't mean you will submit this, but it will maybe help you to improve your photography skills. And
Great sharing, Jose. Critics, yeah. I think people who is willing to share critics on your photo are people we should cherish. I mean, yeah, good pointer. Eric, how about yourself?
Well, I think everyone should develop their own skills. Don't take photos to make other people happy. The photographer themselves should be happy with their shots. And over time, you'll find that as a photographer, a serious photographer, you'll develop certain style that's very uniquely yours.
Okay.
Painters, you have Jackson Pollock, Van Gogh. Everyone got their own very distinctive style. As a photographer, is the same thing, but just enjoy what you're doing. Just take a photo that make yourself happy first, not to please others.
Good pointer, Eric. Good pointer. I believe by following some of the photographers, they have some unique, I would say, style. Like recently I like taking chicken photos, so I will focus on chicken. I'm just kidding. I mean, I get what you mean. So thanks for the pointers and tips, Jose, Klaus, and Eric.
Maybe we can
Anything
also,
more to add on? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can also add one thing. It's not because, for example, I don't like the pictures or the pictures doesn't go, or all the judges don't like the pictures, and it's not the good pictures, or it's not the best pictures, because actually we have all different criteria. So imagine if me, I don't like pictures over edited, so maybe another judge or maybe in another country they shoot in a different style because they prefer over edited pictures or more saturated pictures, and maybe they will like it. It's the same thing, for example, when we shoot commercial shoot. Sometimes we don't like the way we have to process the pictures. It's the wish of the client. So if you have to please someone else and not yours, it will really depend for this. So it's the same thing with your own pictures. If you're happy with your own pictures and you like it's the best this way, I mean, even if you don't like the contest, it's maybe the best picture for you, you know? So you just have to please yourself with the results.
Good sharing. Good sharing. All right. Any more to share before I release all the judges and see you guys in person at ADEX? No more? Okay. So Sophia, can I leave you to close and share more about IOA and ADEX to the judges? Thanks.
Thank you, Carter. Thank you, three judges. So we've come to the end of our current session for ADEX Pixel Expo, and thank you to our three judges for spending their time, their afternoon on this bright sunny Thursday with us. So sadly, we also have two other judges that were not able to join us for this session, which is Manuel Libero and also Aaron Wong. So our two other judges will be at ADEX in person. So catch these five judges in person, up close and personal, and then maybe you get a chance to talk to them and get some of their photography advice at our Ocean Vision that's happening this September. Yeah, so that's all for this current session. Thank you so much, judges, for spending your time with us. Thank you, Carter, and thank you, guys. We'll see you at the next edition of ADEX Pixel Expo. Thank you.
Hi.
I'll show you guys my chicken photo next time.
So funny.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.